Hey, what's up, everybody? Today, I am super excited to be able to talk to you guys about something very important, especially for drummers, and something that I get a ton of questions about, and that is IEMs, or in-ear monitors. Everybody needs them for listening to music, for performing, for gigs. You can use the over-the-ears, but as far as looks go, as far as convenience goes, as far as sound and isolation and protection of your hearing, which is super important, as far as all that goes, in-ear monitors are the way to go. And I know that as a drummer or as a musician, a lot of times there's just so much information, so many options, it's hard to choose. Now, I will say this video isn't one where you're going to be able to hear what I hear through my in-ears. There's no real way to show that to you guys. I'm going to describe it. I'm going to describe it, what I learned from all my testing and trying different in-ears over the years, and why I have settled on my new pairs of in-ears and what it is that I think will make a huge impact on your playing, on your ability in a studio or in a live gig environment to hear the musicians around you. Because at the end of the day, that clarity, being able to hear the bass guitar, being able to lock in on that groove, being able to hear the vocalist, being able to hear your click track, all those things are really, really important. And without a good set of in-ears, the mix is so often very muddy, and so often you have to settle. You know, like, oh, well, if I'm going to hear the bass, it's going to muddy up everything, so then I'm not really going to be able to hear the vocals very well. And that's why a really nice set of in-ears is a really important investment as a drummer. And so today I'm going to show you my new Ultimate ears and talk about why I really, really, really am blown away by them. And also, if you're not in the market with the budget to get a nice pair of molded in-ears, I do have another suggestion for you for the time being. But I will say from the bottom of my heart that this kind of investment is one of the most important ones to make as a drummer. You can put different drum heads on a not so expensive kit and get a much better sound, but you cannot take a cheap pair of in-ears and get the same quality that allows you to have the same level of musicianship without a well-designed and great molded set of in-ears. So let's check it out. All right, so the two sets of in-ears that I have over here are the UE6 Pro from Ultimate Ears, which is a 3-driver system, and the UE11 Pro from Ultimate Ears, which is a 4-driver system. Big difference in price. Right now, the starting price of the 6s is $749, and the starting price of the 11s is $1299. So I will say the reason that I am showing you both the 6s and the 11s and talking about them is because I know that even if you do have a budget to purchase a nice pair of molded in-ears, a starting price of $1299 might not be in that budget. And there was definitely a time in my life where I was looking into molded in-ears and I was thinking to myself, like, whoa, these are so expensive. Do I really need them? Is it really worth it? And that's why I'm making this video, because I want to explain to you the difference in what it is that it really happens when you get a nice set of molds. And so to start out here, if you just went, whoa, no way can I afford that, let me show you these. These are the KZ AS10s. You can get them on Amazon for about 60 bucks. In-ears have come a long way, and you can get really, really great sound out of a more affordable pair of in-ears. But what you're sacrificing there is overall clarity and overall sound. It's definitely nowhere near what I'm getting from my Ultimate ears. But you're also sacrificing that molded sound isolation, which is really, really, really important as a musician and as a drummer, because at the end of the day, if you play drums for 5 years at loud gigs without proper hearing protection, you can suffer really terrible damage to your ears. I know people who played in rock bands for years. In fact, one of my favorite professors of all time, his name's Robert Ambrose at Georgia State University, Dr. Robert Ambrose, and the first thing he tells people is protect your ears, because he's an incredible guitarist. now he directs some of the best bands at one of the greatest universities, and here he is dealing with tendonitis and dealing with ringing in his ears all the time. And I certainly don't want that for you. So do something. That's one of the main concerns here. But back to it. The KZ-AS10s, that's something you can get on Amazon for like $60, and it is certainly a worthy investment if you don't have the money to go for molded in-ears. But Ultimate Ears really took me leaps and bounds above what I had experienced in the past in terms of quality, in terms of fit, in terms of finish, in terms of options. Altogether, these ears are really special. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about each one and kind of explain why you should go with the UE6s or why you should go with the UE11s, because both of these are Ultimate Ears like aimed for drummers. And that's why the video is called Best In-Ears for Drummers, because these models are specifically aimed for drummers who need that low end. You want to be able to hear your kick drum, you want to be able to hear the bass guitar, but you still want to be able to hear everything else. And so the particular driver configurations, the 3 in the UE6 and the 4 in the UE11, are designed specifically for drummers. And let me tell you, I have never experienced the sound quality that I got when I first put these in-ears in. I was literally blown away. Like, I have had great in-ears before, and I have had some really nice in-ears before, but the fit and the sound quality from these absolutely took it to the next level for me. So let's talk. So the first thing that really impressed me about the Ultimate Ears experience was their number of options and overall just the quality of what it is that they're constructing here. But even past that, the actual experience of getting my ears molded was really unique, because in the past, very rushed experience. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know, sometimes they have like a little set of rules. Ultimate Ears has a very explicit set of rules, and I went to an audiologist to get my ears molded, and I'm so sad to say this, but the lady told me, she's like, I've never had a mold sent back before. So like I was so confident. The reviews online were excellent, and I think at the end of the day, what happened was I sent my in-ears in, and the molds in, and Ultimate Ears actually rejected the molds, which I was blown away by, because the lady did such a great job. She took so much time with it. It was a very quality experience, and yet they still got rejected. She followed the rules, I would say, and but what happened was that even though she followed them, there was still a slight variation in the actual length of the mold that Ultimate Ears rejected it. And I was really impressed by that, because at the end of the day, if you're spending this much money on a set of in-ears, Ultimate Ears could have just created them, sent them out, and I'm sure they would have been a good fit. But I went back and we went through the process again, and we're even more particular about making sure that it was everything that they asked for on the sheet. And this fit is unlike any fit that I've ever had. I've had fits in the past that kind of hurt over time because they were too tight, that I didn't feel like they isolated as well. These fit absolutely perfectly, and it's a joy to put them in. Like I feel it as it goes in, that it is exactly the right amount of tight, exactly the right amount of isolation, so that I can still feel and hear the kit just a little bit when I'm playing really hard, but I can even more so hear it through the in-ears. I plugged into my digital audio workstation and my preamps and interface over here, and for the first time in a very long time, the clarity of these Earthworks mics and the clarity of the preamps came directly into my ears. I forgot for a second that I had headphones in, because I thought I was just hearing my drums in person, and it was just like the kick drum was booming in my ears. I didn't understand how that was possible. So that's important. Also, I really did enjoy the presentation of the in-ears, the box, the case that it comes in, the bag, just the way that you're able to protect and carry your in-ears with you. I think that it's a really nice system, and it looks great. Of course, you can see it's got my little name on there and everything. Not that that's all that special, but you know what I mean. Like their presentation, they obviously care about the way that if you're going to spend this kind of money, you're going to have an experience that is very pleasant for you. And then past that, Ultimate Ears also has this really cool feature where you can actually change the faceplate. So for the most part, I would say that unless you just have money to blow, pick a faceplate that works really well for you. And that's what I did with my UE11s. So this is just kind of a black halo glitter sparkle kind of finish. And I went with that on my UE11s because, of course, those are going to be my main use in-ear. They are the higher end model. They do have the extra driver. They do bring a lot more overall clarity. Not to say anything bad about the UE6 because those blew me away too, but if you have the money and you really want to invest in a pair of in-ears that you're going to keep forever, the UE11 is of course the better option in terms of overall sound quality and overall use. And so I went with just a standard, very clean look to it that I can get away with in any environment. I'm never going to be like, oh man, my in-ears are too flashy for this. It's one of those things where like that is safe and it is clean. But they do have this option where you can change the faceplates. And so for my UE6s, I actually ordered 3 different faceplates for them. I ordered the one that actually matches my studio kit, which is so cool. They got it perfectly. All I did was take a picture of it, and they captured this kit directly on the in-ears. And I mean, you can see it here. I also got a couple other options there, and I'll show those to you on screen. But just those kind of features and those kind of options also take it to a new level because you can get something really flashy. You can, not that I would, but you could get something that was more inappropriate, but then if you have to switch it to something else at a different time, like you're able to switch those out and really fit whatever gig it is that you are performing at and what your in-ears need to be for that occasion. And then the last thing that's really important to me are these connectors. They have an IPX connector, and so literally it just pulls right out, and it is a single, almost like a little tiny headphone connector, and it just pops right back in. Now, if you aren't familiar with in-ears, you may think like, why is that important? But so many in-ears that I've used, so many nice molds that I've used, have these 2 tiny little wires that you have to get into 2 holes, and you have to like hold the in-ear, and you gotta like try and like make sure that it's lined up properly and you don't bend them, and you get it in there. The IPX connector makes it very fast, makes it very simple. It's something that like in the middle of a live show, your tech or yourself, if you need to, you could play one-handed potentially and like grab it and pop it out and pop a new one in, or like really quickly in between songs, or whatever it is you need to do. If you happen to have a cable that goes bad or something happens or it pops out, you're able to put it back in so easily. Now, I haven't experienced any of that. No bad cables, it's never popped out, it's in there nice and securely, but it is really awesome that I can just pop it out real quick, clean them off. I could store the cable separately from the in-ears very easily without thinking to myself, it's going to take me 5 minutes to put it all back together. And so really impressed by that. All right, so let's talk sound quality. Now, like I said, the UE6 Pro and the UE11 Pro are both designed specifically for drummers. And what that means is that they are created with a driver configuration. The filters and the frequency crossovers are all created in a way to give you more low end. There are other options out there. If you're looking to save money, they do have a 2-driver system that would do way better, especially with a nice mold on it, than anything you can buy on Amazon or many other options on out there in the market. But these specifically, for a little bit more than their 2-driver, you can get the UE6 Pro, which has that 3rd driver, which increases that bass response, which allows you to hear with more clarity your highs, your mids, and your lows. You're able to really separate the different instrumentation into different segments in your ears to where you can hear those vocals, but you can also really hear that bass. They aren't muddying each other. You aren't having to try and reproduce mids and lows with the same system. You are not trying to create a sound from less than what you need. You have at least those 3 drivers. You have those filters and crossovers that really, really bring it to a new level. And when I wear the UE6s, which I've actually worn the UE6s more than the UE11s because I wanted to be able to for sure tell you that I love the UE6s. I didn't want it to be like, oh yeah, the UE11s are insane, I'm so glad I got them. Also, the UE6s are good. Like, no. The UE6s are the ones that I put in my ears and for the first time experienced this drum set in a way that I've never experienced it with these microphones and these preamps. The UE6s were the ones that originally caught my attention and blew my mind. And then the UE11s just improve upon that. Something that I've really noticed about both the UE6s and the UE11s is that they are very, very constant. They are very similar in experience no matter what you plug them into. So like you can go and you can play a gig in a small club or a big venue and you're getting a very, very consistent tone from all those events and from all those situations. Like I play in really small churches sometimes. I also play at bigger events, halftime shows, arenas, things of that nature. And almost always those small gigs, you go in and the mix is terrible and the in-ear system is terrible. Yet, because of the drivers in this set of in-ears here, the UE6s and the UE11s, you are able to still get a very consistent usable tone even out of really bad in-ear systems because you can go in and you can play with the settings a little bit better on there. And instead of just saying like, well, it's going to sound muddy today and it's not going to be great today, you still get those vocals, you still get the click, you're still able to hear the tracks, you can still get that low end from that bass. And so I have not found an environment where I didn't love the UE6s and I didn't love the UE11 Pros way better than anything that I have personally used in the past. And so for me, that's really important because I pride myself on focusing in a gig scenario. It's very different when I'm doing drum covers. Of course, I'm overplaying and all that. But like in a gig scenario, my job is to listen and lock in with the bass and make sure I'm not covering up the vocals and make sure I'm not playing too much here and making sure that we're all locked in as musicians. And sometimes I'm in a way, like more of the veteran musician, and so I'm the one that's listening like, hey, I'm not really sure if that guitar part locked in with the bass there, I'm not really sure if we all came together as a unit, and being able to hear all that throughout the band really makes it a much easier experience to be able to find things that don't sound exactly the way you want them to. And it's important in a live scenario, but it's even more important in the studio, where with these in-ears, I am hearing subtle nuances in tracks that I'm playing to, in songs that I am writing drums for, to where I'm like, man, I did not hear that on any other in-ears I've ever heard, and now I can take that into consideration while writing this part or while playing this groove, or okay, now I have the ability to focus in on something that I did not know was there before because of the clarity that comes from these in-ears. And that is the cherry on top. You know, protect your ears first. Make sure that you are protecting your hearing because that is so important. Ultimate Ears cares so much about that. I care so much about that. I currently probably have some hearing loss from years and years of drumline and things like that where I didn't have earplugs in all the time, but I don't believe I have like really bad hearing damage in any way. I don't have ringing in my ears, but I never want to have that. And so that's why I wanted to invest in my ears, invest in a situation to where I can protect myself and I can still hear everything clearly. I can sit behind my drum set. I can hear all the drums and know exactly what it is that I am playing, I'm creating. There are times when I'm in the studio with prior headphones in ears where I didn't notice that maybe that tom wasn't sounding so good, or maybe that microphone had a little bit of a clip in it. It is insane how quickly I can pick out those small details that might not have come through on previous headphones that I've used, and I definitely never noticed them even if it was there. And now I'm like, uh-oh, that mic cable's bad. I'm like, how did I know that? I don't have to go back and listen to the mix. I heard it instantly in my ears, and I've never really had that experience before to where I could go ahead and troubleshoot things before having to listen back to the mix. Normally it's one of those things where I'm playing and it's just so loud and the sound isolation isn't exactly where it should be and the clarity isn't exactly where it should be, and so I'm just, playing, and then I go back and I listen to the mix and I'm like, bad mic cable. How did I not catch that? But I have not had that issue a single time in this scenario with these Ultimate ears, because that clarity is there to where I hear every single detail and nuance of my kit exactly the way that these Earthworks mics bring them through. And that is impressive to me. So make sure you click the link in the description. Go check out the UE6. I don't think in any way you'll ever be disappointed with the UE6. I think that it's definitely worth the jump over the UE5. If you're a drummer, if you're a musician that requires low end, I would not suggest being like, oh, well, $200 more or whatever it is, with discount codes and stuff. Like, I should just get the cheaper one. Like, if you're going to spend the money to get the ears, you should definitely get the UE6 at least. But if you really, really want the penultimate experience, these UE11s just bring it out even more. The extra driver, the armatures, the way that the crossovers and everything work in that UE11 is just the next level. It's so hard to explain because you can't hear it, but the vocals just come through. They shine even more, which means a lot to me because my wife is a vocalist and I love to hear her sing through my in-ears. And so to hear those vocals even better, to be able to just get an even more solid picture of the band with the UE11s, I certainly believe that you will never be disappointed by the UE6s, but you certainly will enjoy the added clarity and the added transparency and the sound quality of the UE11s. I think it is worth the money, the price difference, but at the same time, if you don't, if it stretches you to get the UE6s, just get the UE6s. But if it doesn't stretch you and you're just like, is it worth that extra money? Oh yeah, it's worth that extra money. Go with the UE11s and enjoy every moment of your in-ear experience. So thank you so much for watching today, guys. I hope the main takeaway from all of this is that if you have the money, you definitely want molded in-ears. You definitely want to protect your hearing in that way. But if you don't, please go to Amazon and pick up some KZ AS10s. These are really great for the money. They do have sound isolation. It's nowhere near like a mold, but it's not bad. I've played many a gig with these in-ears because I got tired of my higher end in-ears and some of the issues I was having with my previous in-ears. And so I went with these for a while. And I will say, this is a whole nother level and experience, but this is better than nothing. And so I told Ultimate Ears, I was like, yes, I would love to talk about the UE11s and the UE6s, but you have to be okay with the fact that I will also tell people that if you don't have the money, you can go get something on Amazon for much cheaper, because at the end of the day, Ultimate Ears and myself cares about your hearing protection, and making sure that you as a musician feel great and sound great all the time. And these in-ears right here are going to blow you away, but if you don't have the money, you don't have the money, and something like a KZ AS10 will get you there until you can save up that money and get your ultimate pair of in-ears and your ultimate molds and your ultimate ears. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one.